What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Tom Aspinall says Max Holloway will get knocked down at UFC 308. Max Holloway has forged a reputation from his storied career for having a chin made of granite. After all, we're talking about a guy who's never been finished with strikes. But Tom Aspinall is predicting that Blessed will hit the deck from a punch in his upcoming bout with Ilia Topurias. Holloway is booked to fight the new featherweight champion at UFC 308, which is going down next Saturday on October 26. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Well, recently, Aspinall was asked to break down the highly anticipated fight during an episode of Fight Lab, and while doing so, the interim heavyweight champion predicted that Topurias will score a knockdown when asked if he expects Topurias to shoot a takedown. It is really, but the threat's there, and sometimes that can affect your defensive boxing a little bit because you're thinking about the takedowns. With your hands low, you're getting ready for a shot all the time, and punches are coming over the top. I think I'm going to go out there and say Ilia Topurias can put him down. He's got the power, and he mixes it up so well between the disciplines. I wouldn't be surprised if Max Holloway got dropped in this fight. Some may view this as a bold prediction from Aspinall, but Topurias has certainly demonstrated that he's not short of punching power, as he's taken out the likes of Jai Herbert, Ryan Hall, and of course Alexander Volkanovski since arriving in the UFC. That said, some have questioned if Volkanovski's chin was already compromised when he faced Topurias this past February. Volk was coming off a knockout loss already to the lightweight king Islam Makhachev, which took place in October. But when Holloway was recently asked to weigh in on that narrative while talking to ESPN, he dismissed the idea.
Everybody's going to keep on saying that he fought a hurt Volk. Volk and his team thought they was ready. I don't know if they was. We saw the outcome of that fight, but Ilia still had to land that shot, and he did. So at the end of the day, nothing but respect for him.
But what do you think? Did Topurias face Volkanovski with a diminished chin? And do you see the new champion putting Blessed down at UFC 308? Conor McGregor accepts offer from fighter. Not only is Paul Hughes making headlines this weekend on account of his massive victory at the PFL's Battle of the Giants card, but it looks like the Irish fighter may have reignited Conor McGregor's feud with the Nurmagomedovs. If you watched the PFL's card this weekend, you know that Hughes stunned many throughout the MMA world by defeating former Bellator featherweight champion AJ McKee. After Hughes' win, he proceeded to call out Bellator's reigning lightweight champion, Umar Nurmagomedov. At the end of the day, we all know who we want to see next. We want to see Ireland versus Dagestan #2. We want to see Paul Hughes versus Usman Nurmagomedov for the Bellator lightweight belt, and I think we should do it. The former Cage Warriors champion didn't quit there, however, as during his post-fight presser, he proposed that McGregor corner him for the Nurmagomedov fight.
Look, Conor, someone clip this. Conor, I want you in my corner for that fight, 100%. How cool would that be? You know, it really, I mean, we might need some extra security that night. Oscar, talk to the man. We might need some more security, but I'm down for it. I think it'll be fun.
Not only did McGregor congratulate Hughes on his victory after the win, he reportedly had this to say about the rising fighter's proposal before deleting the post. "Paul, my man, I will go to the arena and support 100% for sure. And if it kicks off, I'll be in there before you could even say the Nurmagomedovs are juice-head rats married to their cousins. Your team and corner have done a tremendous job with you. They will take you all the way. You've got this. We are with you, brother. Bring home the gold." So you would assume that the PFL will take this idea and run with it. After all, Hughes just defeated one of the best fighters on the Bellator roster, and there's no doubt that the Ireland versus Dagestan angle will move a lot of tickets and views, especially if McGregor announces he's attending the fight. Up next, Khamzat sends emotional message before UFC 308. Khamzat Chimaev has established himself as one of the biggest names on the UFC roster, and if he puts away Robert Whittaker at UFC 308, Boers will take another step towards superstardom. But recently, the undefeated fighter reminded fans of his humble beginnings and all the sacrifices he's had to make to become a top-tier fighter. If you follow Chimaev, you likely already know that he was born in Chechnya and that he and his family emigrated to Sweden when he was a young man. Boers started fighting professionally in 2018, and by 2020, he had made the UFC armed with a record of 6-0. Well, in a recent social media post that's promoting the new Venom movie, Chimaev relayed the following about his roots and the challenges he's faced to become a UFC star. "They made me who I am today. Be a great fighter, be one of the best on top, train hard, push myself beyond limits. Hard work always pays. I made sacrifices living in the gym. I had no money. No one was believing in me. That was a hard time for me. I always wanted to be myself, do something better for my mom and my family. They made me who I am today. Be a great fighter and be one of the best at the top. Train hard, push myself beyond limits. Hard work always pays. I want to get my title, my gold. This is my dream." Whether you're a fan of Chimaev or not, the stories about his work ethic in the gym and dedication to fighting are well known. Recently, the UFC also released the Countdown show for UFC 308, which of course included a segment about the Chimaev-Whittaker matchup. In that segment, Whittaker argued he's a better striker than Boers and that he's faster as well. The former middleweight champion also fired back at Chimaev's contention that he's the best wrestler in the UFC by noting it's MMA. Whittaker also warned that he's gonna stuff Chimaev's takedowns and beat him up. But what's your take on the upcoming fight? Do you think Chimaev will be able to take Whittaker down and punish Bobby Knuckles? Or will Whittaker's takedown defense once again stand up? Okay, now let's take a look at Garry calls out Kamaru Usman. For months now, Garry has been driving for a fight with Colby Covington, but as this video is being produced, the matchup has yet to materialize. So the rising Irish welterweight has turned his attention to another top-tier fighter, namely Kamaru Usman. Even before Garry fought and defeated Michael Venom Page at UFC 303 this past summer, he was calling for a fight with Covington. While Chaos proceeded to fire back with his usual antics, Garry remains without a booked fight. Well, more recently, Garry claimed that Usman turned down the opportunity to fight him at the UFC's December 14th card in Tampa. The undefeated fighter did so after Usman posted that he's looking to fight. Garry responded with this: "I thought you were built different, but turns out you and Colby are more similar than I thought. Say yes, see you December 14th. So could we see this fight materialize? Given that the new champion, Belal Muhammad, has been booked to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov at UFC 310, it wouldn't be surprising if Usman is looking to get back into the cage. But is Usman really interested in fighting Garry, who's currently ranked number 7, or might he look at fighting someone like Sean Brady or Jack Della Maddalena, who are ranked number 5 and number 4 respectively? Given who Usman has fought throughout his career, a guy who agreed to fight Khamzat Chimaev on short notice, it would be pretty shocking if he was ducking Garry because of his abilities. All that aside, who would you like to see Usman fight next? It's rumored that Jack Della Maddalena and Kamaru Usman have verbally agreed to fight at UFC 312. It's not confirmed yet, but it's in the works. Jack posted to his Instagram story to confirm the agreement. Sean Strickland confirms DDP rematch. For several months now, Sean Strickland has repeatedly insisted that he's next for middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis, and increasingly, it's looking like that will be the case. Ever since Strickland lost the middleweight title to the South African via split decision in January, he's been driving hard for a rematch. Ultimately, the UFC booked Strickland to fight Paulo Costa in June, and the former champion remained in the title shot mix by recording a decision victory. But Strickland didn't get his wish, as the UFC instead opted to have du Plessis fight Israel Adesanya in August. DDP kept the Strickland title fight rematch intact by submitting Izzy in the 4th round. Well, in recent weeks, Dana White has said that Strickland is next for du Plessis, and in a recent Instagram story, the outspoken Strickland relayed that he is indeed going to fight du Plessis next. The date and location, however, have yet to be determined. So, sure, until the fight is booked, some folks will question if it's really gonna happen, especially if the matchup isn't announced ahead of UFC 308, when Robert Whittaker will battle Khamzat Chimaev. A lot of people have speculated that if either of those two men scores an electrifying win, they could get tapped for a title shot instead of Strickland. But what do you think? Is it safe to say at this juncture that the polarizing fighter is gonna challenge DDP next? Max Holloway declines Ilia Topurias' challenge. Ahead of their highly anticipated fight at UFC 308, Ilia Topuria has declared he's going to march out to the center of the octagon right out of the gate and challenge Max Holloway to throw hands in the pocket. But it seems pretty clear that Bless will not be obliging Topuria on the challenge. Well, not at the beginning of the fight anyways. As you probably know, Holloway's legendary status has been bolstered by 2 occasions when he pointed at the center of the octagon and challenged his opponent to trade hands. Holloway did it against Ricardo Lamas in the final round of their epic 2016 battle, and then he did it again against Justin Gaethje earlier this year at UFC 300. In that case, however, Holloway generated gasps and screams that fired around the globe by knocking Gaethje out with 1 second left in the fight. The jaw-dropping knockout also delivered Holloway the BMF title. Well, while talking to MMA Fighting recently, Holloway was asked to comment on Topuria's challenge, and the Hawaiian star proceeded to outline why he's certain Topurias doesn't get why Holloway's done the point down before. The point down moment, I don't think he gets the gist of it. At the end of the day, the point down, it's something that you do towards the ending of the fight. If something is going good, if the fight is entertaining, or you're winning, you give the other guy a shot. The moment is the moment for a reason. Holloway had this zinger while discussing Topuria's challenge and the fact that he's repeatedly talked about winning the BMF belt. The belt is called the Blessed Man Forever, or what you guys want to call the baddest mother. If the belt was the DMF, the dumbest mother, then maybe I would get sucked into it. It's far from that. It'll be fascinating to see if Topurias still carries through with the point down to start the fight. Do you think he will? Urijah Faber shuts down Umar Nurmagomedov rumors? Recently, it was reported that Umar Nurmagomedov and Song Yadong are going to battle at the UFC's December 14th card in Tampa, Florida. But according to one of Yadong's coaches, the legendary Urijah Faber, no one should be marking that fight on their calendars just yet. Several days ago, plenty of eyebrows were raised when the Nurmagomedov-Yadong fight was reported. All signs were pointing to Usman fighting the new bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili next. But since Usman was pushing to compete before Ramadan in March, and Merab has said that he actually wants to fight later in 2025, the consensus was that the UFC had moved on. Well, since then, Helen Yee spoke with Faber. When he was asked about the reported December 14th bout, the former WEC champ quickly shot it down. We don't have a date for that yet. I don't think December 14th is the date we've talked about. I think January is what we're looking at, but we like that fight. I think Umar and Song are both guys that people don't want to fight, so they're both willing to step up. We'd fight Sean O'Malley, we'd fight Davison Figueiredo, we'd fight any of these guys. We've been seeing all sorts of stuff being posted about that fight, but nothing's been signed. A date has not been agreed upon. If that fight does happen, it most likely happen in January at UFC 311 in Los Angeles. There you have it. So now it'll be interesting to see if the UFC decides to wait and have Usman fight Merab in Q2 of 2025, or if they proceed with Nurmagomedov versus Yadong in January. Dana White shuts down fight at last minute. Earlier this week, we reported that Raul Rosas Jr. and Muhammad Mokaev were scheduled for a grappling match. However, it looks like the fight was shut down by Dana White and the UFC just a few days before it was supposed to happen. Mokaev wrote on Twitter saying, "I have a lot of respect towards Raul Rosas Jr. Unfortunately, the UFC didn't let him compete. I wish you all the best, bro." This is interesting because there's been multiple UFC fighters who competed in grappling matches over the years, but it seems like Dana White has an issue with this fight because of Mokaev. Mokaev was fired by the UFC after starting a brawl with another fighter in the hotel before an event. It's possible that Dana White doesn't want him to get any more recognition or ruin his up-and-coming star, Raul Rosas Jr. Top comments. Man, Merab really does not want to lose that belt quick. Merab was ready to rematch Sean as soon as he can, but when it came Umar, he wants March? That's just strange. Honestly, Merab is annoying. Francis is a bad man. He systematically dismantled Fajeda with ease. The king is back. Long live the king.